I was once saved from a pile of dead bodies by Lucas. Before I was recognized and brought back to the palace, he taught me to read and fight, treating me with the utmost gentleness. Until I killed the woman he had loved for years. To avenge her, Lucas became my husband. He spent years plotting my downfall, turning everyone against me, and after torturing me, threw me back into that pile of the dead. Lucas said his greatest regret was saving me. So, when I was reborn, I crawled out of that pile of bodies myself. Later, I heard that the rain fell heavily that day. The usually proud young Marquis Lucas, ignoring the filth, knelt in the pile of the dead and dug with his bare hands until they bled. All to find a little beggar girl. Lucas still killed me, on the anniversary of Serafina's death. He used the same dagger stained with her blood and pierced my body bit by bit. As if that wasn't enough, he twisted the blade in my flesh, his eyes crimson with hatred. Why did you kill her? He had asked me this question many times, I had answered. I had told him I didn't, but he never believed me. After all, everyone knew that the long-lost princess had been infatuated with the young Marquis. When she couldn't have him, she killed the woman he loved out of spite. And now, he was asking again, just to find an excuse to tighten his grip on the dagger. His hand was trembling violently. I could feel it. But this was the same man who had broken my limbs and tortured me without a hint of mercy. I smiled at him. Lucas, what are you afraid of? He was now the grand tutor of the new dynasty. Killing a disgraced princess of the old regime was a simple matter. It was all part of his plan to avenge Serafina. He said nothing, then suddenly let go. I fell back into the pile of bodies, and his face became a blank mask again. Lily, he said, looking down on me, my greatest regret is saving you. I died, but it seemed I wasn't completely gone. I saw him go back and burn down my princess residence. Everyone praised him for his righteousness, saying the remnant of the old dynasty deserved to die. He remained calm through it all, until he saw the new emperor's empress. Brother Wei Ji, Serafina, risen from the dead, called to him, as intimately as ever. Lucas stared at her, lost for words. I heard her apologize, explaining that the old emperor had been a tyrant and that she had been forced to use him to help the new emperor ascend the throne. His family had been loyal to the old regime. How could they be easily swayed? So she had set a fire. I am sorry, Wei Ji, she said, her eyes full of tears. Whatever you want, I will make it up to you. The words were ambiguous. Lucas was silent for a long time before finally croaking. All right. Serafina's tears turned to smiles. So he loved her that much. He, who despised deceit above all else, could forgive her. I had once played a small trick on him for his birthday, just to surprise him. He had been so cold that I had never even given him the gift, but for her, he could make an exception. I should have been dead. But when I opened my eyes, I was back in that pile of bodies. The stench of decay and blood filled my nostrils. I was no longer the princess, but the little beggar, 19. 19, my greatest regret is saving you. His hateful words echoed in my ears, so I gritted my teeth, and despite the pain, crawled out. If I saved myself, I would owe him nothing. I have always been afraid of pain, but my life has been nothing but pain. War in the north, famine, bandits. The old servant who cared for me had hidden me in this pile of the dead before he died. But the bandits were thorough. They were going to burn the bodies last time. I had panicked and been discovered. Lucas had saved me. He saved me, and then he killed me. And all I wanted was to live. I crawled over the corpses, my luck, as usual, abysmal. I had escaped the bandits and avoided Lucas, only to run into Damian, Lucas's mortal enemy, and the most notorious hellion in the capital. Well, what do we have here? A little stray cat, the richly dressed youth said from his horse, a whip in his hand. But the moment I saw him, a familiar yet strange voice echoed in my mind. She is a young lady, bury her with respect. The young general had taken off his red cloak and covered my broken body. He had given me a proper burial, a final resting place. I had caused him no end of trouble for Lucas's sake. Yet, in the end, he was the only one who had shown me any dignity. So I thought perhaps my luck had finally turned. "Such a tiny thing, and so timid," he said, seeing me stare at him. He cracked his whip to frighten me, but a bag of silver landed at my feet. "Take the money and get out of my way." The pain was so intense I could barely stand. I decided to take a gamble. The corner of his red cloak hung down from the horse. I grabbed it and held on tight. He instinctively withdrew his whip. "Save me, please." My voice was a hoarse whisper. It was all the strength I had left, but I wanted to live. Before I lost consciousness, I heard him roar. This cost me 1,000 taels of silver. 1,000 he'd been swindled. The fabric wasn't worth that much. Damian took me in. He said I had dirtied his 1,000-tael cloak, so I had to work off my debt. I became a scullery maid. But the real reason was that he suspected a connection between me and Lucas. The story of the young Marquis kneeling in the mud, digging through a pile of corpses with his bare, bleeding hands, all to find a little beggar girl, had already spread. "Was he looking for you?" Damian asked, his tone more of a statement than a question. I was the only one who had made it out alive, but I wouldn't admit it. I just smiled weakly. "I don't know." He just gagged and didn't press the matter. I became his bodyguard. The pay was better, and I had a debt to repay. He didn't believe I could fight. "A little thing like you, the wind could blow you away. You probably couldn't even kill a chicken," until I pinned him to the ground, a blade to his neck. "I am a very good fighter," I said, my voice serious. "You won't regret hiring me." He lay there, having a crisis of faith in my past life. Lucas had discovered my talent for martial arts and had said I would be a useful blade. If I hadn't been discovered to be a princess, I would have been trained as one of his secret guards. I wasn't very smart, couldn't do needlework, but I had a knack for fighting. I had wanted to protect him then, but he had wanted me to protect someone else. I looked at the blade in my hand, a little dazed. But this was good, I thought. At least now I could choose who I wanted to protect. Damian got up, grumbling. He couldn't beat me, so he pulled rank. "Where does all the food I feed you go? You are still as thin as a stray cat. People will think I abuse you." He stopped, his eyes narrowing. "Wait a minute. You want people to think I abuse you, don't you? You look like a block of wood, but you are full of schemes." I blinked, trying to follow his train of thought. "No," I said earnestly. "It is because I can't gain weight." I always explained, even though no one ever believed me. But what if? He was taken aback. He was used to speaking his mind, and probably wasn't used to people taking his ramblings so seriously. "You believed me?" he asked, a complicated look on his face. I nodded, then shook my head. Because of his kindness to me in my past life, I didn't want him to misunderstand me. He ran a hand through his hair and sighed. "Oh no, I've picked up an idiot. I just don't like to lie," I corrected. He nodded. But from then on, my food always had a bitter, medicinal taste. I didn't know much about medicine, but I had heard of families using drugs to control their guards, so he didn't trust me either. I wasn't surprised, a little disappointed. Maybe, but after a while, I noticed I was healthier, rarely even catching a cold. I asked him about it. "You have the nerve to ask," he said, at first feigning ignorance, then glaring at me. "The expensive medicine I've been feeding you could turn a dog into a pig, and you are still as skinny as a beggar." He muttered the last part under his breath. But I heard him. "So the medicine was to make me stronger." "It is a waste on me," I said, my voice flat. I wanted to repay his kindness, but I seemed to be falling deeper and deeper into his debt. I didn't want to go back to that man, eating palace, but I didn't have the money to pay for the medicine either. "What do you mean, a waste?" he scoffed. "When I found you, you were sick all the time. Now you can take on 4 of my guards at once. It means I am a good master. I can finally show my parents I am good for something." I said nothing, my mind calculating how I could ever repay him. He must have guessed. You don't think I am just a big softy, do you? I looked at him and nodded. He was known throughout the province for being a soft touch. That 1,000-tail cloak, for example, was made by a poor seamstress who couldn't afford a doctor. He was so angry he laughed. You can't even lie in your own head. You really are a block of wood. He was scolding me, but his eyes were full of laughter. My life is not worth that much, I said. That money could have saved many others like me. Lucas had also spent a lot of money on my recovery. I wanted to live, but I couldn't owe so much. When the debt becomes more than you can ever repay, living becomes a luxury, especially since his kindness always came with a price tag. I had learned that the hard way. The smile on his face slowly faded. That is why I hate this world, where a human life is worth less than dirt. This world has always been like this. I looked at him, and I saw a kindness that was out of place in this world. It wasn't a good thing, but that was okay. I would protect him. If he couldn't kill, I would kill for him. He seemed to be waiting for a reply. Since you are so eager to repay your debt, he said, a mischievous glint in his eye. You can do one thing for me. All right, I agreed without hesitation. We ran into Lucas on the road back to the capital. There were assassins. It must be that bastard Lucas's fault. Damian cursed. He told me to stay in the carriage. I just gripped my sword. The assassins were well prepared. Damian, despite his curses, rushed to save Lucas. A sword lunged at him. Lucas, who was being protected by Damian, saw it but said nothing. Until I stepped in front of Damian, the sword pierced my shoulder, but I had already taken the assassin's head. It was the most efficient method, but blood splattered on Damian's clothes. I heard they were also very expensive. His face darkened. I was just trying to protect you, I mumbled. Who taught you to protect people by trading 1,000 of your own for 800 of the enemy's? He said through gritted teeth. Lily, a voice cried out. Lucas was staring at me, his eyes full of a joyful disbelief. This was a side of him I had never seen. He was usually so reserved. A marquis shouldn't be searching for a beggar girl. A gentleman shouldn't stand by while his savior is in danger. Only the Grand Tutor, the man who had overthrown a dynasty, would act this way. I suddenly remembered his all right to Serafina. I took a step back, and Damian shielded me. If you want to have a reunion, you can do it later, Damian said, his voice cold. He pushed past Lucas, bumping his shoulder. Such a grudge, one might think the young Marquis was deliberately trying to make a little girl suffer. His tone was flippant, but his eyes were full of a rage I had never seen before. Lucas stumbled back, the color draining from his face. I didn't, he whispered, but his words were unconvincing. I glanced at him. He was such a good actor. He clearly despised me, yet he was putting on such a show of concern. But why was he even looking for me? I didn't owe him anything anymore. Have you fallen for that pretty boy? Damian asked suddenly. Your taste is terrible. Seeing my confused look, he grew even more frustrated. He pushed me into the carriage. I'll deal with you later. As I got in, I saw him preen, muttering, that weakling. I could take him out with one punch. What does she see in him? A real block of wood. I haven't fallen for him, I thought. I just want to live. Lucas said he was here on my mother's behalf. The emotional outburst from before seemed to be just a fleeting moment. He smiled gently. Lily, I am here to take you home. I looked at him, and I remembered how, in my past life, I had always been waiting for those words. In the Marquis's residence, and then in the palace, I was always the forgotten one. I had waited for him to take me home, but all I had gotten was his blade and his question. Why did you kill her? I had no home. Damian was silent. He hadn't spoken to me since I had been injured, but his silence now filled me with a strange panic. I grabbed his sleeve, just as I had grabbed his cloak that first day. Are you getting rid of me? I stammered. I still owe you money, and for the medicine, and that thing you asked me to do. I trailed off, realizing that I had only been a burden to him. He looked at me, then turned away, muttering. "This damn block of wood will be the death of me," he then said, with a hint of pride. "She doesn't want to go with you." I had expected Lucas to persist, but he just stared at my hand on Damian's sleeve, the light in his eyes slowly fading. "All right," he said, his voice hoarse. This was not like him. He needed the reward for finding a royal heir to secure his position in the Marquisate. He wouldn't give up so easily. I grew wary. He saw the wariness in my eyes. He swayed, his face deathly pale. "As long as Lily is happy," he said, forcing a smile. But his eyes were red, as if about to cry. He fell ill. Damian, though reluctant, had to travel with him, as Lucas insisted on keeping up. Damian was still angry with me, and would only speak to me through an intermediary. I finally went to him. "I was wrong," I said. "Huh," he sneered. "So you finally realized your crime from 4 days ago." I remembered that was when I had been injured. I mumbled an, "Uh-huh," and I shouldn't have gotten hurt. He sighed. "Whatever. Why am I arguing with a block of wood?" He leaned back against a tree and smiled. "But I have my ways of making a block of wood bloom." "A block of wood can't bloom," I wanted to say, but in that moment, I believed him. "Are you this nice to everyone?" I asked. He was different from the other nobles. He could talk to anyone, from scholars to merchants, even beggars. He was taken aback by my question. "Of course, you get what you give." But in that moment, I saw a deep, profound loneliness in him, a loneliness that set him apart from everyone else. "Wood," he said, changing the subject. "I suddenly feel homesick. For the capital?" He paused, then smiled. "Of course." But I felt he was lying. The day we parted ways, Lucas came to see me. He was very ill, his pale face flushed with a feverish red. He just stood there, looking at me with a strange expectation. I had once gone to great lengths to find medicine for him, even breaking my arm to get a rare herb. But he had been angry with me then for not looking after Serafina. The herb had ended up with her for a minor scratch. He really did love her. I walked past him. Just as I did, his hoarse voice stopped me. A voice full of a trembling anticipation, as if waiting for a known punishment. "You've come back too, haven't you?" I instinctively reached for my sword. There was no one around. He didn't seem to notice. 19 was a very kind girl. She was afraid to kill, so I deliberately put myself in danger to force her to draw her sword. The first time she killed, she couldn't sleep. I forced her to get used to it. 19 was afraid of pain. Even a small cut would make her wince. I forced her to endure it, to not make a sound. 19 was soft-hearted. If she saw me like this, she would try to cheer me up, and I was the one who destroyed that. "So, Lily, it is you who has come back, isn't it?" His breathing grew ragged. The blade of my sword was at his neck. "I just want to live," I said, my voice flat. Everyone wanted me dead, but I wanted to live. The blade cut his skin, and a drop of blood appeared. I flinched, but he grabbed the blade and pushed it into his own shoulder. His face, already so pale, was now ghostly. "Is it because he found you first?" he asked, a tearful smile on his face. "But I went looking for you that day. I wanted to take you home. I promised her I would, but I couldn't find her. I searched for so long. I even killed those men, but they didn't know where my Lily was." He was delirious. He reached for me, his hand still on the blade, blood dripping from his fingers. I stepped back. He froze. "Lily?" he asked, his voice full of a wounded confusion. "Why didn't you wait for me?" "You told me your greatest regret was saving me," I said. "So I crawled out of that pile of bodies myself. I don't owe you anything, Lucas." "I am sorry," he choked out. "You don't have to pretend," I said. "I wasn't completely dead then. I saw Serafina. I heard what she said to you. You forgave her." He seemed to realize what I was talking about, a flicker of hope in his eyes. "And after that, did you see what happened after that? Why should there be an after? I cut him off. Isn't that enough? You burned my residence, became the celebrated Grand Tutor, and Seraphina, as Empress, was ready to compensate you for everything. That is what I saw. The light in his eyes died. So this is my punishment. How cruel, he whispered, half sobbing. Simone was calling my name in the distance. I looked at him, barely able to stand, and said, I wanted to kill you, but I am more afraid of dying. I don't know if he heard me. He just pushed the blade deeper into his shoulder and smiled. Lily was also injured, now we match. He seemed to whisper, I love you, but I thought he must be mad. Damian took me back to the general's residence. I waited for days, expecting to be summoned to the palace. But instead, I heard that the young Marquis had broken off his engagement and that his former love's new suitor had been arrested for treason. Lucas had pushed her to her doom. I heard that Miss Sue begged him for days, but he wouldn't even see her, Damian said, eyeing me. Wood, you need to be more careful when you pick a man. You can't just go by looks. I nodded, not realizing how scandalous his words were. Whatever he said, I believed, and that seemed to make him happy, until his older sister, furious, came and twisted his ear. Damian, what nonsense are you filling her head with? He yelped, but was clearly enjoying the attention. The general's family was very kind to me. Damian said it was because I was a good person, but I knew better. If I was so good, why had no one loved me in my past life, except, perhaps, for Damian's oldest sister, the imperial concubine Zhang. She had been the only one to protect me in the palace. Little Lily, she had told me, if you can, run from this man-eating palace. But I hadn't been able to escape, and neither had she. The once vibrant, heroic daughter of a general had died on a trumped-up charge of treason. The memories, long forgotten, came flooding back, and I froze. Damian was telling me his sister had sent some gifts from the palace. Damian. I grabbed his arm, but the words wouldn't come out. I was terrified of being burned as a witch. I had a dream, I finally stammered. I told him everything I could remember about the conspiracy that had brought down his family. I was so scared he wouldn't believe me. I know, he said, stroking my head. I'll investigate. You just wait for me here. You believe me? Of course I do, he laughed. If I didn't, how hard would your life be? A single sentence, and my eyes filled with tears. For a moment, I wished I had met him first. He panicked. What? Did I say something wrong? He fumbled for a handkerchief, then just offered me a bag of sweets. Here, have some. He always carried sweets with him now. Damian disappeared for a while. When he returned, I heard that a deputy commander in the army had been executed for treason. My sister's situation is a little tricky, he said. But don't worry, I'll keep an eye on things. Wood, you saved us. I saw Seraphina again. Her once vibrant beauty had faded, replaced by a dark, gloomy aura. She saw me, her eyes cold and menacing. She shouldn't have recognized me. A sense of dread washed over me. She smiled and mouthed the words. So, it was you. That night, I had a dream. I saw Lucas, back at that pile of bodies, digging for me. Seraphina found him. What are you looking for? She asked. He was silent for a long time. Nothing, he finally said. I think I lost something. If it is lost, it is lost, she said, relieved. Whatever you want, I'll find it for you. All right, he had said, but I saw the hatred in his eyes. He hated her, but he hated himself more. He had plotted her downfall, turning her from an empress to a prostitute, then throwing her into a dark dungeon, just as he had done to me. Are you avenging her? She had taunted him. But you are the one who sent her to the palace. You are the one who let her be used as the emperor's medicine tester, all to secure your own position. I just gave you the knife, but you were the one who killed her. And now you say you love her. Even a fool would find that disgusting. So he had known all along who I was. He came back. I was spending more and more time with him. Have you fallen for me? He had teased. I didn't say anything. He blushed. You have, haven't you? It is only natural. I am handsome, and I have a great personality. I didn't know what love was. What does it mean to like someone? I asked. Lucas had said he loved me twice. Once after I died and once after I was reborn, but he had killed me. His love only brought me pain. Damian grew serious. Did someone say that to you? Yes. Which little bastard has been trying to steal you away from me? He fumed. I'll hang him from the city walls for 3 days. His comical anger made me laugh, dispelling the gloom of the dream. Do you think he likes you? He asked, his own smile returning. I thought for a moment, then shook my head. He almost killed me, and then he said he was sorry, that he loved me. That is definitely not love, he said instantly. Even a child knows that to love someone is to give them the best of everything, to try to make them happy. There is no excuse for hurting someone you love. If you don't feel it, then it is not love. I looked at my reflection in his light, colored eyes, at the unfamiliar, relaxed smile on my own face. I don't have a name, I said quietly. Like him, I had almost died as a child. But I hadn't been so lucky. My mother had just called me 19, the day of my birth. I had never had a name of my own. He was taken aback. So Damian, can you give me a name? He opened his mouth, then closed it. I think the name Jiang sounds nice, I said. A flicker of hope in my voice. He took a deep breath. Are you sure? Once you have my name, you'll be one of my people, he said, trying to sound casual. But his voice was trembling. Am I not your bodyguard? You really are a block of wood, he laughed. All right, I'll take on this important task, but naming is a serious business. I'll have to consult with my parents and my sister. After all, you'll be part of the family. Family, my eyes lit up, and I smiled. I had a family, and someone was waiting to take me home. But I never got my name. An imperial edict arrived, and I was taken to the palace. It was just like before. I was trapped, forced to drink bitter medicine. The emperor was obsessed with immortality and needed a royal-blooded medicine tester. I was the only suitable candidate. My name was Shiju. I had almost had a name of my own. The imperial concubine Jiang came to see me. She was just like her brother, always trying to feed me. That bastard has ruined all the good work we did. She fumed, pinching my cheek. Eat another piece. You are so thin. She didn't know about the medicine. When your residence is ready, I'll have Damian come and stay with you. But I was under heavy guard. Even she could only visit occasionally. The emperor was getting more and more desperate, and the dose of the medicine was increasing. I was uneasy. Then a new favorite appeared in the palace, Lady Sue. It was Seraphina. She came to see me. How pitiful, she said, a strange look of pity in her eyes. Lucas hasn't come to see you, and that young man from the general's residence can't get in. See, men are unreliable. You have to rely on yourself. She was right. I smashed the bowl and stabbed her with a shard. I do have to rely on myself, I whispered. And I have to get my own revenge. But the medicine had weakened me, and I only managed to give her a superficial wound. The palace was in chaos. The emperor was suddenly gravely ill, and the princes were fighting for the throne. This hadn't happened in my past life. Then the third prince launched a coup. Lucas found me. The once gentle young marquis was now a hardened warrior, but his expression softened when he saw me. Lily, he said, holding out a hand. I am here to take you away. I just looked at him. It is not safe here, he said, his voice hoarse, his eyes red. I'll take you away. When this is all over, I'll send you back, wherever you want to go. But I don't want to go with you, I said. Damian said he would come for me. I believe him, so I will wait for him. But I was the one who found you this time, he said. His voice choked. Lily, everyone makes mistakes. Can't you even give me a chance to make it up to you? It is so cruel. Damian was right. He wouldn't hurt me just because he had made a mistake. But if Damian can't find me, how cruel would that be to him? He froze. I smiled at him. And don't call me Lily, I have my own name now. A name? Yes, I am called. I stopped. I had forgotten that Damian hadn't told me my name yet. Sunuan. A smiling voice finished for me. Her name is Jung Sunuan. Damian had come for me. I was just getting the antidote. You beat me to it, he said with a raised eyebrow. What are you waiting for? Come here. I ran to him, but Lucas grabbed my arm. Lily, he pleaded. Don't you want me either? He was also injured, a deep wound in his side. I should have hated him, but in that moment, I just felt pity. I heard you say you loved me, I said. His grip loosened slightly, but someone else told me that if I don't feel it, then it is not real love. You saved me, even if it was for your own reasons. You gave me a life, you taught me to fight. I was happy for a time, but Lucas, I still want to kill you. You can't, a voice said. He is the second prince's right-hand man now. The third prince's coup had failed, and the second prince was the hero. Damian came over and broke his grip. I heard a bone snap. Lucas grunted in pain. Then I guess I won't, I said with a sigh. I am dying, he said calmly, a strange smile on his face. Your hands won't be dirtied. He took a poisoned arrow for the second prince, Damian explained. There is no cure. He traded his life for your safety. The antidote he had given me was sweet, like a candy. Is there more? I asked. But then I saw the blood on the vial, and the blood pouring from his own mouth and nose. Damian, I said, my voice trembling. Why are you bleeding? The weather is dry, he said, wiping his face. It is nothing. There was no antidote, Lucas said from the doorway. He just tested the poison on himself bit by bit until he found a cure for you. You talk too much, Damian said with a glare. Don't cry, he said to me, his voice gentle. I am not going to die. I made the antidote once. I can make it again. But he couldn't even wipe away my tears with his bloody hands. You are lying, I sobbed. If you could, you would have taken it yourself. He sighed. You are not such a block of wood after all. He took my hand. Let's go. I'll get you out of here. Don't worry. A scourge like me will live 1,000 years. Besides, I've lived long enough. I am tired. But he was lying again. He had an arrow wound, and to find the antidote, he had taken even more of the poison. As we neared the palace gates, we were surrounded. The third prince's men. I guess I have to break my promise, he said with a weak smile. But we're almost there. You just have to take the last step on your own. Shut up, he said, grabbing my hand. You are going to get yourself all dirty. He was struggling to speak. Talk to me, he pleaded. I haven't seen you in so long. Summoning charged at us. Damian's blade was already slick with blood. He was still talking, but his voice was getting weaker. I quickly tied him to my back. Such a rough little girl, he murmured, his eyes closed. But you are the only one I like. Damian, I said, trying to keep him awake. What do you want me to talk about? Anything, he whispered. Tell me if Lily likes me. I did that thing you asked me to do, I said, changing the subject. Long ago, he had asked me to do one thing for him. Tell me why you are fighting so hard to live. I had been searching for that reason, and now I had found it. I want to travel the world, from south to north. Long ago, his sister had told me about her restless little brother, who always dreamed of seeing the world. But I am a coward. I need someone with me. And that person has to be you, Damian. I am afraid of dying, but I am more afraid of you dying first. He was silent for a moment, then laughed weakly. That is a good answer. I like it. But you are wrong about one thing. Wood, we're not going to die. I just grunted and switched my now dull sword for a new one. I don't know how many men I killed. I just kept moving, carrying him on my back towards the palace gates. He said he was a kite, adrift in this world, and I was the string that had shown him the way. I didn't understand. But I knew I was his bodyguard, and I owed him a great deal of money. I had to get him home. As dawn broke, I heard the sound of reinforcements. Someone was asking if I was all right. but my vision was blurred with red. Then something hard poked my cheek. It was a flower, carved from wood, blooming in the bloody haze. "The wood has bloomed," his voice was barely a whisper, but it was full of laughter. "Lily, we're going home." Epilogue: his master, a wandering Taoist priest, took him away. The priest laughed when he saw me. "So you are the one his soul was so restless for. He actually managed to reverse fate. How curious." I had a wild guess, but I wanted to hear it from him. "When will I see him again?" "Why do you want to see him?" the priest asked with a smile. "I love him," I said, without hesitation. "What if it is for a lifetime? Then I will wait a lifetime." The priest laughed again. "Then wait." I waited. I became a part of his family, and then I became the invincible female general he was supposed to be. The next spring, I went back to that place outside the city. The pile of bodies was gone, replaced by fertile fields. A child, playing nearby, splashed mud on my clothes. The clothes he had picked out for me, saying they suited me perfectly. I sighed. I would have to go back and change. As I turned, a familiar voice, full of laughter, stopped me. "Well, what do we have here? A little stray cat, all dirty and pitiful. You are blocking the way. Why don't you just come home with me?"